How are we doing, everybody? This is Jeff Davis with DISCUS Software. I want to make sure that you have my contact information before we jump into this walkthrough. Best number is 614-360-2424, extension 17. Again, that is 614-360-2424, extension 17. Best email is the letter J Davis at discussoftware.com. So that's jdavis at discussoftware.com. All right, let's go ahead and jump in now. So what we're looking at here is our quick start tutorial. Don't worry about that. I'll be your quick start guide. We'll select OK here, and to the left we have our recent files, our reference links, news, tips, and tutorials. We can select Open TDP, which will allow us to view and select our technical data package, which holds our drawings, certs, documents, and specs all in one place. You can either add that to your repository or send that to your customer. We can add a drawing, or we can right click here to be able to add a drawing. I'm going to hide our welcome screen, and this way we have our drawing panel above and our details panel below, or our bill of characteristics. Now in our bill of characteristics, or our details panel, we have characteristics and results, which is going to be on your form 3. We have part accountability and parts list, which will be your form 1. Then we have materials and process and functional tests, which will be your form 2, and we're looking at the AS9102 standard. Now if you have PPAP or ISO or a different standard from your customer, we can always customize a template in DISCUS so you can export directly to that standard. We're going to go ahead and add a drawing, and we're going to add BSB Solid, which is a pretty simple drawing, pretty straightforward, and it's digitally produced. I can demo with any of your prints as well. Just give me a 24-hour notice. We can preview your drawing or add our drawing revision here. Then a new feature that we have is our IDA processing, which is a drop-down now. We can select Enable IDA Processing and go to More Options. Now from here, we can select, if we had, let's say, 10 sheets, then we can include or exclude the sheets. We can also exclude the areas. We can automatically convert those candidates characteristics. This one will save for advanced features because there's a few other things I want to go over with that. We can select clockwise, counterclockwise, left, right, top to bottom, so essentially the sequencing of your balloons. Once we have this all set, we'll select OK. Now we can hit OK again, and just keep in mind that you can choose between period or comma and your default template. Now we have these candidates, and candidates are the orange highlights that are raising their hand, denoting that they are ready to become characteristics. So in order to do this, DISCUS is very simple, right? It's intuitive. If I were to double click on any of these candidates, we can create a balloon. And the same thing here. We've created 2 balloons now. Now the next ballooning option is our click and drag method. Now when I do this, I'm casting a net. So think of this as casting a net. First one is just double click, now we're casting a net. I can right click and convert those selected candidates characteristics. Now I'll do the same thing here. We're going to cast the net, second method, click, drag, right click, and then convert selected candidates characteristics. Okay, so now we have 11 characteristics that are completed. Now what we're going to do is our magic wand tool. So I'm going to just delete some of these. Delete, and now we don't have any candidates. At this point, I'm not going to be able to double click. I won't be able to cast a net. Nothing's going to happen there. So what I'll do is go to our magic wand tool, and I will click and drag over each of these dimensions. And now these will be added into our BOC automatically. So we have 13, 14, 15 here. We'll make our way around now. You'll notice that this will take us just a half a second. So if you're manually ballooning, you'll see the time advantage here. We will automatically convert candidates characteristics. And also, if you're using a different solution, you'll be able to see how easy it is, 1, to renumber and reorganize, and 2, that DISCUS is very accurate and precise when it comes down to being able to pull these. So you'll be able to notice that with your own prints and when you also evaluate. All right, so this last area here, right click, convert selected candidates characteristics. So that took us about 30 seconds to be able to complete. We have characteristics 1 through 38, and we have this error here. And DISCUS error proofs, so it's letting us know that we don't have anything for 1 place in our title block, which down here we have 2 and 3 places. Now I'll show you how to change that a little bit later. We'll go over some of the settings. But I want to show you now that you can delete characteristics. So if we were to delete a couple of these basics, delete, and a couple of these basics. Delete. Alright, so those are gone. We can zoom in, and I'll hit Control W, which is a virtual whiteout. And I'll show you what it's going to white out. You see these requirement images. It's essentially that containing box around the dimension. Well, we're going to be removing that. So we'll hit Control W, and now all of the requirement images have been removed. Control W again to bring it back. Alright, so you've been able to see how we can run IDA, our Intelligent Drawing Analysis tool, to be able to auto-recognize dimensions. We can also auto-recognize notes as well. It's just that this drawing doesn't have any notes. If it did, we'd be able to pick those up without any problem. We've been able to balloon using our double-click method, casting a net, and also our magic wand. Candidates do not come along for the ride. So candidate here, just out in the open. There's no dimension, no note there. That one's not going to come along for the ride. Neither will these dimensions here. To renumber and reorganize, if we're looking at, what is this, D8, we can just click and drag, click and drag. Now a little bit further down, if we had characteristic number 30, we can move this to characteristic number 3. There we go, and enter. Now everything is renumbered and reorganized. You can see how that goes. And we'll switch this back to 30, and we'll switch that back to 30. Alright, so that's a couple of different ways. You're also able to bulk move, so if we had 7 through 11 and we wanted to move those, we'd be able to do so. Let's move now into results. So in our results column, and also in our characteristics, results tab, and also our characteristics tab, we have several different columns. And these columns are all customizable. So we can go to results, configure custom fields, and we can configure them as a predefined list, which is a drop-down menu, or a text option as well. We can also make our BOC columns or our results columns. We can make these visible or hidden. And then once we have this set, we can just select OK. So just keep in mind that all of these are customizable, as well as our templates. Now we're only going to do a few of these just so that you get the idea here. We'll do 0.835, 0.510. We'll have one where you can see true position. DISCUS can be more precise, but not less precise. And for the last one here, we'll go with something that is completely out of tolerance. Alright, so when we zoom in, we'll be able to see passing, caution, failing, passing. So caution would just be it's within tolerance, but it's close to being out of tolerance. And then we have blue, which is either non-reportable, or we haven't entered any inspection results for this yet. That's our results tab. Now we'll move to part accountability, which is our form 1. And for this, we'll go with part number. And we're just going to add placeholders. Left 2 columns are mandatory, right 2 columns are optional. Alright, so assembly and partial only so we can add our parts list. Verified by yours truly. And no comments. You can toggle between Rev B and Rev C. Anytime there's a new update, then DISCUS, we will update that on our end as well. And you'll have that relatively soon, so we'll just say in the first couple weeks or so. Our parts list, we can either add this individually, or we can upload a CSV file. Functional test, the same thing, either individually, or we can add a CSV file. And a CSV file is pretty much an Excel file. It's a comma separated value, but you can export from Excel as a CSV file. Now for materials and process, I can either add this individually. We can also do an import from a CSV file, or I can zoom in and we can do a text extraction. With this text extraction, I'll create a box around the material, right click, set as material, spec number, rev, add spec, code, supplier, cert, and comments. Okay, now that's set. We have our characteristics tab, results, part accountability, parts list, materials and processes, and functional tests. So everything that we would need to be able to export is ready at this point. Now there might just be a couple of features that might be helpful for you that I'll cover quickly. We have our waffle icon, which is also our reference location. So if we were to go to characteristics, nothing is set here. We can just enable our grid, hit apply. We can deselect, or we can keep grid line visibility right now, but we can reduce this 8x8 to 8x4. We can move these grid lines in, and then once we have that set, we can deselect grid line visibility, hit apply. Now we're good to go. I'm just giving you a quick example. I could pinch the corners of each of these so that they fit directly onto our zone grid there. And then we can select OK, and that's set now. Next item that we'll cover is our default tolerances. We can go to settings, application settings, default tolerance settings. And this is very much like Excel. I can just add in a tolerance, hit enter, tab, shift tab. We can, if you have multiple customers, or even if you have one customer that has different tolerancing, you can copy, delete, rename, test, and then you can delete this as well. Once that's all set, you can just select OK. And each of these settings I would typically do at the beginning, at the onset when I'm opening up DISCUS. I would just check to make sure that everything is set up appropriately. But for the sake of the demo, it's usually pretty helpful to see IDA and then entering results and then filling out your forms. We'll go to settings and we will wrap with IDA settings. And so just make sure that IDA is enabled. You can select your sequencing. Do you want to detect flag nodes, reference dimensions, basic dimensions, make them reportable, non-reportable? I usually set my utilization to high and high. You can switch between high, medium, or low. And then I enable the processing of the document queue manager. Once all that's set, then I select OK. And we're now ready to export. So I can move over to File, and from File I can export. And we can export our drawing to PDF. And we'll save this to our desktop. Save. Open file, yes. Okay, you should be able to see this now. Alright, so we have our balloon drawing here. I can go ahead and close this out. We still have this error, so keep that in mind. We're going to resolve that. We're going to close that now. Now we'll go to File, Export, Template to Excel. Now, there's the error that we were seeing just a minute ago. We'll go to details and we have no min, no max for characteristic number 23. We can switch our characteristic type to counterbore depth. We could switch our data type if we needed to, our upper and lower. And this just gives us a granular view where we can change characteristic number, characteristic type, data type, nominal, upper, lower tolerance, also our GD and T, our freehand or guided options. Once that's all set, we select OK, and the validation status should resolve these errors. There we go. Now we have 12 to 14 preloaded templates. On your end, you can either add in your own custom templates. You can request for us to help you with that. And our support team will be able to help you with that as long as you have your support and maintenance up to date. And then we can go to output file location, and we can save this to our desktop. Save. And export. And we're going to open this file as well. Okay, wonderful. We'll switch over to Form 1, part number accountability with our parts list here. We have our product accountability with our material and process and functional test. And we have Form 3, characteristic accountability, characteristic number here, reference location, requirements. If you wanted to, we have an option for adding your requirement image, so you know exactly what the a snapshot of the dimension that you added into your forms. Then we have GD&T, and we have our results as well. If you wanted to add the requirement image, can head back over to Discus, go to BOC, and then you would deselect exclude, and yes. So now when we export, we'd have the requirement image added to our Form 3. So go to export. I'll just show you this. And export. All right, you're able to see that here now. Okay, so that's Discus in a nutshell. Again, my name is Jeff Davis. If you have any questions, best number to contact me is 614-360-2424, extension 17. And the best email is jdavis@discussoftware.com. Again, the phone number is 614-360-2424, extension 17. And just to let you know, we covered the 2D FAI Suite right now. The 2D FAI Suite, which is desktop, IDA, and results. All right? Thank you, everybody. Take care.